Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today's press conference is dedicated to the ICJ advisory opinion regarding UNRWA. The presentations and later on the questions will be limited to this subject only. We'll start with a statement by the Foreign Minister Gideon, followed by a presentation of Deputy Director General Amir Aihi, Vice Board for International Organization. The Foreign Minister, please.
Good morning. At this very moment, the International Court of Justice is beginning deliberations in another shameful proceeding against Israel. This time, its advisory opinion is sought regarding the matter of UNRWA, an organization infiltrated beyond repair by terrorism. Israel decided not to take part in this circus. It is another attempt to politicize and abuse the legal process in order to persecute Israel. The goal is to deprive Israel of its most basic right to defend itself. It is not Israel that should be on trial. It is the UN and UNRWA. The UN has become a rotten, anti-Israel and anti-Semitic body. Clear evidence shows that under the UN and its Secretary General, UNRWA employed terrorists who took an active part in the October 7 massacre. He then covered it up. The UN was created to make the world a better, safer, and more peaceful place. But it has betrayed its original, noble purpose. Instead of contributing to global order and stability, it undermines it. Instead of promoting peace and justice, time and again it does the opposite. This is exactly what is happening in The Hague as we speak. This case is part of a systematic persecution and delegitimization of Israel. It is abusing the international legal system and politicizing it. No country, democracy or non-democracy, has been brought before the court as much and as often as Israel. No country is subject to such double standards. Israel is a democratic country with a strong commitment to the rule of law, including international law. It has an independent judiciary and a robust military justice system. Its Attorney General is a participant in Security Cabinet meetings. Yet, this is the fourth proceeding relating to Israel in the court since the October 7 massacre. First, they used the court to spread the blood libel against Israel, that Israel is committing genocide. Second, they used the court to try and prevent Israel from obtaining the arms it needs to defend itself. Third, they tried to deny Israel's historic right to its ancient land. They tried to determine that what they call an occupation in our homeland is illegal. And now they are abusing the court once again to try and force Israel to cooperate with an organization that is infested with Hamas terrorists. And it won't happen. What do these all have in common? An attempt to deny Israel its basic rights, rights that every sovereign country has. Above all, the right to defend ourselves. On top of that, add the ICC's outrageous arrest warrants against Israel's democratically elected Prime Minister and former Defense Minister. The appeal decision last week proved that those baseless warrants were issued hastily. The court has no jurisdiction over Israel. Israel is not a member of the ICC or party to the Rome Statute. The warrants were issued unlawfully. They are null and void. The legal campaign against Israel is a well-oiled machine. It is a Palestinian campaign, even when other countries are on its cover. The goal is not justice. Israel's enemies weaponize the international legal institutions to try and render Israel defenseless. The ICJ is becoming completely politicized. Legal means are being used time and again to promote the Palestinians' political agenda. But the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will not be decided by courts. The ICJ is a part of the UN. In the General Assembly, you can guess the result of a vote based on the country and its politics. Israel doesn't stand a chance, no matter what is on the agenda. Also, when Israel's matters are brought to international courts, there is no connection to law and justice. It is completely politicized, even when the truth is on Israel's side. When this proceeding was initiated, the current Prime Minister of Lebanon, Nawaf Salam, served as president of the court. While neutrally judging in a case against Israel, just moments before casting off his judicial robes, he called Israel an enemy state. This is the person meant to administer a fair and just trial. You can't make this stuff up. Shouldn't a judge with a bias recuse himself? We categorically reject the systematic legal persecution of Israel while it fights for its existence. Israel is the most attacked country in the world militarily, but also on the political and legal fronts. We will not grant any legitimacy to this farce. If the ICJ continues to be abused, like the ICC, for anti-Semitic purposes, it will lose its credibility and its legitimacy. The ICC is already there. The ICJ is on its way. The case being heard in The Hague this week is fundamentally distorted. It should be against UNRWA. Under the disguise of UN agency, UNRWA is a Hamas proxy. It completely betrayed its mandate. UNRWA employed over 1,400 known terrorists. Many of them took an active part in the October 7 atrocities. Just one example. Mohammed Abu Attawi was an UNRWA worker and a Hamas terrorist. He was caught on video participating in the murder and kidnapping of Israelis near Kibbutz Re'im, including Hirsch Goldberg Polin, may he rest in peace, that was kidnapped and afterwards murdered by Hamas. The UN must answer for these crimes. Secretary General Guterres is personally accountable. He knew what was going on in UNRWA. He knew very well, and he knows very well. Israel repeatedly warned him. He did nothing. He went out of his way to whitewash UNRWA. He continues to cover up the crimes of UNRWA and its terrorist employees. Israel, through legislation passed last year in the Knesset by broad consensus, made a clear decision. It will no longer cooperate with this shameful organization. Last week, the US administration took a clear stance. It clarified that UNRWA and its staff cannot hide behind UN immunity. We fully endorse this determination. They must be held accountable for their crimes. Israel refuses to sit on the bench of the accused in the UN's politicized circus. No country in this position would. It is the UN and UNRWA that should be on trial today, not Israel. I accuse UNRWA. I accuse the UN. I accuse the Secretary General. And I accuse all those that weaponized international law and its institutions in order to deprive the most attacked country in the world, Israel, of its most basic right to defend itself. We will not let the truth go untold. The world must hear and know the real story. I will now ask Deputy Director General Amir Weisbrod to present just a taste of the hard evidence against UNRWA. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, Foreign Minister. Ambassador Weisbrod, please join us.
Thank you, Minister Sar. Good morning, dear colleagues. In the next 15-20 minutes, I'll try to give you, as the Minister said, a taste of the issue of UNRWA. You will see that it's not, as UNRWA tried to portray, a case of few bad rotten apples, but it's a systematic infiltration. Actually, it's the biggest scandal in UN history in terms of the breach of the principles of neutrality and impartiality, in terms of the scope and magnitude of how many terrorists UNRWA employed and the use of the facilities. Just, if you can pass, next slide. Minister Sar already spoke about this. We are not talking about 1, 2, or 3. We are talking about 1,462 workers from UNRWA employees in Gaza. All of these people are men. If you look at it in terms of UNRWA employs 1,200, 500 people in Gaza, men about 6,000, 6,000 plus. So we are talking about 25% of the personnel in the organization. We are talking about 80 principals and deputy principals who ran schools for military purposes and also used it to radicalize Gaza's youth. We are talking about a breach and the use of UNRWA facilities in terms of tunnels, arms depots, the main data server of Hamas that were located in UNRWA facilities. So the attempt to portray it just as a few rotten bad apples, of course, doesn't tell the real story. But let us, and as just going back a little bit, as the minister said, UNRWA knew about it before October 7. We warned UNRWA with letters, both about the employment of employees and the use of the facilities. After October 7th, you would think that UNRWA drew the lesson, but instead it was all a cover-up. There were many reviews that were established, but if you will look now at the realities, you'll see what UNRWA really did in practice afterwards and after the warnings given to it after October 7th. But let's go back chronologically. As I said, UNRWA was warned in the years prior to October 7th about the employment of terrorists in its ranks. This is a letter here from December 2011 from the DGG of International Organization at the time, Eviatar Manor, to the Commissioner General at UNRWA at the time, Filippo Grandi, giving the names of 10 terrorists within UNRWA ranks, some of them Hamas, some of them are PIJ, Palestinian Islamic Jihad. If you can see number 8, Ani Kaskin, is written with the ID, and here is the name of Naji Abu Aziz. Now let's see what happened with Naji Abu Aziz and Ibrahim Kaskin. So this is Naji Abu Aziz. As you can see, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. In the left, he is an UNRWA school principal, one of these 80 principals. He runs a Huza preparatory boys' school in Gaza. On the right, what you'll see, and this we presented to the UN, with evidence of Mr. Al-Aziz. This is from captured enemy materials in Gaza that were caught by the ADF, that shows that Mr. Abu Aziz is actually a terrorist in Hamas chemical manufacturing unit. If you look here, you'll see his name and the kind of weapons that he possesses. He possesses a Kalashnikov, he possesses five bombs, and here you can see a document that an internal Hamas document that talks about an article in a website called Gaza Leaks mentioning the scandals of Mr. Abu Aziz and so on. Next slide, please. This is Abu Aziz School, Huzaa School. As you can see there, with the red thing, Abu Aziz used this school, like many other principles of UNRWA, for military purposes. He installed anti-tank weaponry and openings in the school, near the school windows. Next slide, please. Another case that was brought in the 2011 letter, the case of Ibrahim Kaskin. As you can see, this is his number. He's a teacher in UNRWA, but on the right, again, you will see captured enemy materials showing that Mr. Kaskin, this is his own CV that he wrote, that he belongs to Al-Quds Brigades of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, Gaza Battalion, mentioning that he works for UNRWA. And on the left, you see a document of the Palestinian Authority intelligence showing that he is a member of Palestinian Islamic Jihad and was questioned by the Palestinian Authority. So in both cases, please, next slide. Oh, sorry, okay. In both cases, you'll see later, Mr. Abu Aziz is still being employed by Gaza. You'll see it later. Actually, it was quite amazing. We got a list from UNRWA about 2 weeks ago. Mr. Aziz is still being employed there, and you will see it. Now about the facilities and assets. You will see here a case of two schools that were used by UNRWA schools that were used for Hamas for military purposes. In both schools, and we'll come back to that later, the principals are Hamas military members. First case, this is a case. In both cases, a tunnel was revealed by mistake there. In one case, it was because of a rain. In another case, a child played in the backyard and their foot entered into certain kind of a hole, and then they found out there was tunnels. In the first case, 2021, this is a Zaytun preparatory A school there. The tunnel was there in 2021. UNRWA admitted that on a statement on January 21 that the tunnel was there. But surprise, surprise, in 2024, this tunnel is still there. By the way, this tunnel led to the main data server of Hamas that was under UNRWA headquarters. It was part of a network of tunnels. Next slide, please. Another school. This is Marazi Prep B Boys School. The principal is, again, a Hamas activist. The tunnel was found there in 2017. You can see here UNRWA statement. What did UNRWA do about it? Nothing. In 2023, the tunnel is there. The principal is still there. You would expect that UNRWA would at least fire the principal, maybe think of changing the school's location, seal off the tunnel. None of that has happened. Next slide, please. And this is how we got to October 7. In October 7, more than a dozen UNRWA officials participated in the terrible massacre. We will show you a few examples. As the minister said, one of the most shocking cases is the case of Muhammad Abu Atewi. He's a driver in UNRWA. This is his ID. On the right side, you'll see a captured enemy materials from Gaza showing that he went through an ambulance course in the Qassam brigades. Now, the video will speak for itself. Just please, next slide. On October... حملوهم استنون. هاتوا كمان هاتوا. So you can see Mr. Abu Atewi here with the red circle. He participated.
هات كمان هات طخوش من مصر هذول ما عادش يقتل بالنصرة. ايوه هات ناس من جوا هات يلا حمل معاه شيل معاه شيل معاه حمل
I think it's enough. You can pass, please. Next slide. This is the tragic results of this attack. As the minister said, Ersh Goldberg Polling was abducted with other 4 people. He was then murdered in Gaza. Fortunately enough, Elia Cohen and Or Levy survived and were released in the latest exchange. But Alon Oel on the left is still in Gaza in the Hamas tunnels. Well, next slide is also quite shocking. This is a social worker of UNRWA, Faisal Ali Naami, who participated with his father in the kidnapping of the body of Yonatan Samarno, an Israeli youngster who went to Nova Party and then tried to find refuge in Kibbutz Be'eri. Unfortunately, the terrorists managed to get hold of him there. And you will see in the next video what Mr. Naami and his dad did. You can pass, please, next slide. As we said, after October 7th, you would expect that UNRWA will draw the lessons. Well, UNRWA tried to portray it as a case of few bedridden uppers, but we told you the numbers of employments of Hamas terrorists in Gaza exceeds 1,000, almost 500. So we wrote a letter I wrote a letter to the Commissioner General of UNRWA, Philippe Lazzarini, and to the Secretary General of the United Nations in July 24. As a sample, we mentioned the names of 100 Hamas activists with their ID, with their military numbers, who are employees of UNRWA. UNRWA did nothing. We showed it to UN officials. I presented it to head of OCHA, to other UN officials. We showed it to donor states. UNRWA did not act upon it, but let's see a few cases out of this 100 list. First case, Mr. Khaled Masri. He's the principal of one of the schools that you saw before, Marazi Prep B School, who had a tunnel under his school. In the red thing, you will see an HR list of Hamas, and it's mentioned the ID of Mr. Masri and his rank in Hamas, which is a Rakib, a sergeant. Next, please. Another case, another school principal, Muhammad Shawaide, is the principal of this Zaytun school that we showed you, that the tunnel there led to main headquarters of UNRWA and to Hamas data server. Here we have military documents, captured enemy materials of Hamas, showing that he works in combat engineering in Al-Qassam Gaza Brigade. Another example, Ahmad Samir Khatib, he's a deputy school principal in UNRWA, in another Marazi school, Marazi B Boys School. And he is also a squad leader in infantry battalion in Han Yunis Brigade. You can see here documents showing the marks that he got through a military course that he went through. Well, this is what UNRWA did. This is the list that we got 2 weeks ago in April. Donor states forced UNRWA to give Israel the lists of its employees with the IDs. These 3 people, individuals, are still employed by UNRWA as we speak now. It's almost 9 months since we gave the list. These people are still employed. Next. And this is Mr. Abu Aziz, if you remember, the first principal from 2011. The same list in 2024, he is still being employed. And this is, the 100 list. We checked when we got the names last week. 95% out of them are still employed in UNRWA, as we speak, from these 100 people. It's not that the other 5 they disqualified, it's just that they were part of October 7th, so either they died or UNRWA dismissed them. Please. Again, this is the numbers, we already spoke about it. I think something that you should pay attention to, 80% out of these people work in the education system. And then people tell us that UNRWA needs to provide education. You can imagine what kind of education UNRWA provides. And as I said, 15%, and it's only men, so probably the number is higher because you have also females working on Hamas and in UNRWA, and now we are really researching this. So the number is probably higher than 15% of principals and deputy principals. Now, post-October 7, the UN needs to guard the neutrality of its installations and to report about every breach of its installations. Now, let's see what they did. On the left, it's a very famous case. It's the main tunnel that led to the main data server of Hamas. Now, of course, UNRWA knew about this because the electricity was supplied from the main UNRWA headquarters above in Gaza. Also, the parking lot in this place started sinking a few years ago, which is always a sign for a tunnel. UNRWA never checked this. So this is the main data server of Hamas under UNRWA headquarters. Next one, which is quite shocking, please. This shows you Hamas personnel were in black entering a UNRWA compound. You will see the UNRWA guard with the blue vest. He allows them to enter there and to take the vehicles of the UN. By the way, from the war, when UNRWA says that it's drawing lessons and that they're implementing the Colonnade report, the UN is supposed to report to Israel about every breach of neutrality of installations. Do you think they reported to us on this? We didn't have even one case during the war that the MFA or COGAT was alerted. Other organizations do. The World Central Kitchen did when it employed employees. And this is the UN, and this is the guard there in blue, and this is them taking the UN cars that are being used for terror purposes. Do you think that they notified us? Of course not. As the minister said, the responsibility goes beyond UNRWA. It goes to the Secretary General itself. I want to show you one of the most amazing things in this presentation. Please, next slide. If you remember Mr. Atewi, the driver who killed and participated in the kidnapping of Ersh Goldberg, Paul Hernandez, he was killed by Israel in October 24th. And this is what the SG had to say about Mr. Atewi. Instead of looking who is Mr. Atewi, he blamed Israel for killing a humanitarian worker. Maybe you'll come back there. I just want to... This is a reminder for him who's Mr. Atewi, that he defended, his colleague. Okay?
Maybe you can read the tweet.
And this is, again, he's still employed. This is a list we got in April by UNRWA. Mr. Abu Atewi, you can see him in yellow, still employed by UNRWA, despite the fact that we sent it in the 100 list, despite the fact that it was over my Twitter, despite the fact that the New York Times published a big story about this. He's being employed. It's a pay for slay. His family gets money. Please. And this is also quite amazing. Israel, when we had the October 7th, the UN, the Secretary General established an investigation. We sat here in this building for hours on each case, showing them intelligence. We asked to see the report. This is what the SG disclosed to Israel. These are the cases of the 12 individuals involved in October 7th, and this is what we call UN transparency. Maybe another time, because it's quite shocking.
What reason did they give for redacting?
They didn't say. This is what you... And we had to beg to get it. There were countries who got it before Israel did. Donors. We didn't. And this is what we got. Okay? Now, maybe to wrap up, before I hand it back to Minister Saar on the question, a lot of member states did draw the lessons. The US defunded UNRWA. Sweden, when they saw this, defunded. Italy, all of them passed the humanitarian assistance through other organizations, and we cooperate with these organizations. The Netherlands have reduced, and others are also thinking in this way. Maybe the bottom line, as Minister Sari said, the one who should stand in court in The Hague is the UN and UNRWA, because they completely breached the principles of neutrality and impartiality. I'm always being reminded as Deputy Director General for International Organization that the UN has privileges and immunities. Yes, but the UN has obligations too. This organization, the UNRWA betrayed its organization. The Secretary General betrayed the principles of this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Weisbord. We'll now move to questions. Remind you again that we would ask you to limit your question to the subject of UNRWA and the ICJ. This is what this press conference is all about. Please, questions. Yes. You can present yourself.
Hi, I'm Claire Parker from the Washington Post. So you said that you sent this list of 100 employees who were implicated in terrorism to UNRWA. How did you get the 1,462 number then?
This is by doing a comparison of different intelligence we have. A lot of it is based on captured enemy materials that we caught in Gaza. Some of it is on other intelligence. We showed it and shared it with many donors in UN. The New York Times has published a story about that, authenticated this. So this is the means to, and as I said, we are just in the start of this because we are still investigating into women into UNRWA. This is only men, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Foreign media, please, first. We have... Yes, please.
Why did you decide, if the appeals process in the ICC seems to be going pretty well for Israel, why did Israel decide not to participate in the proceedings of the ICJ? Maybe this evidence could have convinced them.
I think I explained very well why. This is what I done for 10 minutes. We put there, we convey our written position on the issue to the ICJ, but we didn't think we should participate in the circus there.
Thank you.
But the position itself, they cannot ignore because it's there.
Yes. Dan, please.
Good morning, gentlemen. Dan Williams from Bloomberg. As I understand it, this briefing flowed from a Norwegian initiative to take Israel to task for the clampdown on imports to Gaza. What, if anything, is Israel doing to prevent what NGOs are calling an imminent famine in Gaza, given that that is apparently linked up with the briefing today?
We work to provide humanitarian assistance. We have the issues of the refugees there. We cooperate with many organizations and NGOs. Now we are putting pressure on Hamas because we want to see a progress on the issue of the hostages release. But this briefing is nothing to do with this. It's about the timing of the hearing in The Hague, and we wanted to present our case.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Yes. Hi, Lisa Rozowski, Haaretz. So you were focusing today on UNRWA, but actually the case that will be discussed in the ICJ can very well also have to do with the general subject of the humanitarian aid and the fact that Israel doesn't provide it. What do you have to say about it?
It's not the case today.
Yeah, and I think it was answered. Yes, please.
Israel has said openly, and this meeting flows from that it wants to end UNRWA. UNRWA is rotten to the core. Israel said it needs to be replaced by other agencies. How close are you to achieving that in Gaza? And do you also want to end UNRWA in the West Bank, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan?
The law is very clear on that. And the law draws a distinction between the activity in the sovereign territory of the State of Israel, in Judea and Samaria, in Gaza Strip. So the law provides the answer for that. UNRWA activity is disallowed in the sovereign state of Israel. In Judea and Samaria and Gaza Strip, Israeli officials cannot cooperate with UNRWA. All the definitions are in the law itself, and we are simply implementing the law that was legislated half a year ago with a very wide consensus in the Israeli Knesset.
Thank you. There are no other question. We'll wrap up. Yes, last question.
Doesn't it signal to the world that maybe Israel can't defend this this law that is passed in the Knesset? Because I don't really understand why we are not taking this argument and speak now at the court in front of the judges, as the rest of the world is doing now and will be doing the next 5 days.
Because you believe it is legal and I believe it is political. The position of the State of Israel is simply there because the written position was brought by us to the court. It's there. But all the circus, the position itself, the written position is there. But to participate in this circus for the next 3 days, I elaborated before that, and maybe you missed it or just heard it, but were not convinced why it is totally politicized and why we cannot trust these procedures. We saw it. We saw it on the advisory opinion on the occupation. And I just gave the example there of the president of the court during the genocide case, which defined us as an enemy state. I think it is quite convincing why it is a problem to trust under these circumstances, that it is connected to what we see as law and justice.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say that we gave you also folders with presentations and other cases. You can use it. You can reach out to us if you want further information.
One last question from Reuters. Yes, please.
It's Maya Nubel from Reuters. You showed us videos.
I think, and I want to add something. The aim of these processes, not processes, there were already 4 processes during this war, as I mentioned, is to delegitimize the state of Israel. What we will do from now on is delegitimize the delegitimizers. We will not play in that game anymore.
Yes, please.
Hi. You showed us before videos and evidence of UNRWA workers, links with Hamas and Hamas people, school headmasters and such. Have you found any evidence which directly links Hamas and UNRWA aid distribution, given we're speaking about aid today?
I think we know that Hamas uses and steals the percentage of aid. The video that you've seen, you saw that they are taking equipment, and I think from UNRWA warehouses with the cars. So I think the video speaks for itself. I don't need to answer on this. And as I said, they have an obligation to guard neutrality and to report to us. They never did. There were so many breaches like the one that you saw. We never got a report.
There is no total connection. It's like, symbiosis.
Biotic.
Symbiosis. The installations of UNRWA was the commanding centers of Hamas, were operational centers of Hamas, was communication centers of Hamas, to try to break between Hamas and UNRWA is a very hard work. We gave time and again the UN a chance to change UNRWA, to reform UNRWA, but none of that happened. So this is something that we found out. We cannot fix it. Then the Knesset legislated very clear laws, and I don't think that it is really can be challenged from a moral point of view.
Washington Post, please.
2 questions.
Okay.
Sorry. So first, you have said just now, you mentioned UNRWA facilities being control centers for Hamas. That language, command and control center, is very frequently used in IDF announcements, specifically in regard to allegations of, finding evidence of Hamas activity in UNRWA facilities. I've never understood what that means. What is defined as a command and control center? Could you explain that? And then second question, you just said you want to delegitimize the delegitimizers. Israel doesn't recognize the ICC, but it does recognize the ICJ. I mean, is there any thinking about withdrawing that recognition?
The issue is not recognition. The issue is not recognition. The issue is the political use of the institution. We respect international law. What is happening here is a gap between international law and international law institutions. Because what happened is that the General Assembly of the UN can send to the ICJ any matter for a so-called advisory opinion, and by that politicize the conflict, politicize the issues, and under a legal disguise. So there is a question to what extent you can play that game when it is played against Israel, but with double standards. We defined the right balance as bringing our position to the court in a written statement, but not participating in the circus for the next 3 days.
Thank you. Before we leave, we left you with briefs about the evidence, some of the evidence regarding UNRWA activity and the involvement with terror. You can have it with yourself. It's for you to use. Thank you very much. This press conference is now over. Thank you.